Good morning. Welcome to Wednesday morning. Can you believe the weeks have gone? And it's September the 29th, and we're glad you're here with us on this Wednesday morning. And uh, you're going to find out today what I really meant when I said it's going to sound like this is a psychology class. I don't mean that, but I think we have to understand the steps that bring us to where we are, the truth about how we got to where we are. So it's going to sound like it's not coming from Scripture, but it really is based in Scripture. So let's begin. Yesterday, we were talking about step one. We're talking about 9 steps that go about making up who we are, how we got like we are. And first one was we recognize a need that God created within us. Step one is we were created by God with a need to be loved. We have needs. Certainly, but one of those needs is to be loved and to be accepted, to be appreciated. And God created us with that love, but He also is the one who fulfills that need. It's not going to be found anywhere else. So we started out with a need, basic need to be loved and accepted. And then step 2 is when we entered this human race, we entered the human race with a built-in sin. I mean, we showed up on planet Earth with sin inherent in our life, and it manifested itself in a self-centeredness. Now, you see, when we showed up on planet Earth, we had a built-in package of selfishness. That's why a little baby will wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning without regard to how long or how little you've slept. They want what they want. And as much as I've loved all my little grandkids, as much as I loved all 4 of my daughters, I know looking at them, they had a depraved spirit in them. And that's what happened. We entered the human race with a built-in sin, and it was manifested early on by self-centeredness. If you don't believe that, you put 2 little kids in one playpen and give them one toy. And before they've had time to be shaped by their environment, they'll get in a fight over who gets that toy. Why? Because of self-centeredness. So when we came on the planet Earth, we didn't know God, so we didn't look to Him to supply our needs. Early on, all of our needs were pretty well met. But they were met. We looked to mom, we looked to dad, we looked to brothers, we looked to sisters, relatives. And if we didn't have any of those, we looked to anyone around. And later, then you begin to look to your peers for your supply of love. That's step 2. You entered the human race with built-in sin that was manifested by self-centeredness. Now, the third step, as you developed your flesh dependence, the third step is you learned about yourself through the actions of others. Someone has said that our personality is formed 85% by the time we're age 5 years old. I don't know if that's the exact statistics, but that's what has been said and quoted. Now, think about a preschool child. Like I said, he's self-centered. He learns about himself. He's sitting in daddy's lap, and he reaches up and grabs daddy's nose. And what happens? Daddy says, "Nose?" And then what does he do? He points to Junior and says, "You have a nose." So what's Junior learning? He's not learning dad has a nose. He's learning he has a nose, or he has an ear, or something like that. And that's the one we were talking about a while ago, little Luke, or little Louise. They're learning about themselves. And what happens is, Dad, let me give you a scenario, or tell you a story. Dad wanted to be an athlete. When he got into high school, man, he was ready to get out of high school and become an athlete and get well known for that. Mom wanted to go to college and be in a sorority, and I mean, they couldn't wait to do all that stuff. But another thing happened that they couldn't do, and that was they couldn't wait to get married. So they got married, and mom is all of a sudden carrying a baby, and dad who had visions of going to college, becoming this or that. He winds up working at Walmart. Mom is working at the Dairy Queen. Nothing wrong with either one of those, but that's not what they had planned. And so what happens is Mom and Dad begin to take a little of their resentment out on the little guy. And what he learns from them is it's everybody else's fault. It's not mine. It's everybody else's fault. But the problem is, if Mom and Dad are ulcer getters or ulcer givers, they project everything onto little Luke or little Louise. And though he doesn't believe it's his fault, he learns that it is. And he's learning about himself. He's not learning, hey, I didn't ask to be born into this chicken outfit. He's not learning that. He's learning it's my fault. I'm the one who's not doing it right. And I may be telling stuff on myself here, but step 3, after you learn about yourself through the actions of others like Mom and Dad, brothers and sisters, step 4, you begin to develop a unique personality. And that's where the mind, emotion, and will comes in. The thinker, the feeler, and the chooser. And what you think usually determines what you believe or what you feel. It usually affects your emotions. So what happens is this, and again, I know this sounds like a psychological gibberish, but it's not. What happens is your elevator doesn't go all the way to the lobby anymore. On a scale of 1 to 10, you never get below 6. Because your emotions are always up there around 6, and you're thinking you're unloved, and you're thinking you're doing everything wrong. And so your elevator doesn't go all the way to the lobby. And so what happens is you reprogram to where the bottom is a 6. And up here at 10, you relabel those steps 1 through 10. And you're way up here instead of being down here. And so you had step 5, you had your personality programmed. Your brain, you remember that? We looked at that. The body has a brain right up here in the earth suit. And so your brain gets programmed. Now this is the most interesting thing in the world, how your brain gets programmed. The brain is nothing but a bunch of cells, but it's a miraculous bunch of cells that God created. And your brain in the body has memory lanes down it. How you think and how you feel and how you act are the result of those memory lanes or highways that are in your brain. Now, many of them are highways because you've been down them so many times. Some of them are cow trails because you hadn't been down some of them that often. You learn to talk, you learn to do a little thing through those highways, language skills, math, history. Those are some of the things that are been traveled a lot, and they're good, solid highways. Others are things that are garbage, that don't need to be there. And even though you don't need to travel them a whole lot, you're making a path out of a cow trail, and then you make a road out of a cow trail, and before long you've got a super highway going through your brain that started out as a cow trail, but on that lane goes all of this thought that came into your mind as you were growing up, and the result is you think you're not acceptable, you think you're no good. And because of that, you begin to feel like you're no good. And because of that, you begin to choose to act like you feel and like you think. Wow, that's heavy. We're going to come back here tomorrow and we're going to talk about step 6 because we're not through yet. We'll be back in the morning. God bless you today. Just remember, He is the one where you get your thinking, feeling, and choosing fixed. Bless you. Have a great day today.